was well, for me personally, I think it was a gathering of a young group of men to come together, people for us to have a common
You know, there's so many of them. They all come back to ODPhi. You know, there's always something that's a part of it that was ODPhi. You know, whether it was just, you know, maybe a team building project that we did. You know, going out to the lake, or even a community service project the next morning. You know, where we were.
I can't pick any specific memory because my life would have been completely different if ODPhi wasn't around or I wasn't a part of it. It's just my entire college experience is based on the fact that I was ODPhi. That I was first brought into BDL. I was accepted, kind of got to know everybody. It made my life a lot easier and the transition into college a lot easier.
Pre-Omega Delta Phi, back when we were the Brotherhood of Distinguished Latinos, when we were still we had an identity. We knew the direction in which we wanted to go. We were confident in our mission, and we were confident in our ability to work as a group.
When we were looking for an organization to become a part of, we were looking for somebody that had the same goals, the same values that were trying to achieve the same thing that BDL was.
Back then, we were all first generation students. In fact, a lot of us were like me, first generation, didn't even graduate high school, much less go to college. So for us to even look at Greeks, we didn't have dads or uncles or granddads to help us through the system and teach us the ropes, man. We were all trying to learn the ropes ourselves.
I think one of the reasons why we wanted to become Greek was so that we can, I remember, I guess, from we wanted to compete against the other Greeks, not only in intramurals, but to provide a foundation, for others.
It's kind of hard to say which was the best memory because, we had a lot of good memories, and it was college for one thing, and college is full of good memories, and then the other thing was having such a close group of friends, but I don't know, anything from pledge, from activation nights were always memorable. We always have our funny ones. We always have our nights when we had a turtle line night. We had our pledges line up, and those are good memories. I'm sure David and Raul and everybody that went through those.
Being able to help the community, being able to touch the community. When we were established, our goal was to have San Marcos embrace us. That was it. We knew that if we could capture the people of San Marcos, then we did our job, and we did it better than any Greek organization at Southwest Texas State.
My name is Kurt Schaefer. I'm the Director of Career Services at Texas State University, formerly Southwest Texas State University. And I'm honored to comment a little bit about the Brotherhood. Fortunate enough 10 years ago to come in contact, I think probably with Daniel first off, and then later with Raul and pretty much all of the founding members I had some interaction with. Most impressive group of folks. Each time we would meet, I was more impressed with the determination and the grit and the networking skills. And I think that's probably one of the things that kind of set the founding members apart from many of the other students that I met at that time. So this organization is blessed to have those types of folks to be the founding members. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been this chapter of this fraternity at Texas State University. So you folks who are listening to this who are current members, need to know that about the history of the organization. Been having a conversation with Raul about some of his experiences in Iraq, and one of the things that we just talked about was two things that kind of have always set him apart, in my estimation, have been his positive outlook on life and the fact that he's pretty fearless when it comes to taking on different tasks, and especially taking on tasks that he has had no background with particularly. And I would extrapolate from Raul and apply that same principle to Daniel and to some of the other founders to have been a small part and been around at the beginning of this organization. If I had any advice to leave to the current and future members, it would be to follow in the footsteps of these founders, and particularly follow with those two principles. You know, you want to always stay positive. You don't want to do anything to tarnish the image of your organization, and you want to be fearless in the things that you do. Have a vision for what you want your organization to be like, what you want it to be, period, and then work hard to make that vision a reality.
The first time I heard about BDL was back in the fall of 1996. My roommate, who was Tony Martinez, he was the one that actually told me about meetings going on, about a fraternity being started. It was a Latino fraternity that was trying to get started. First, I wasn't, much of a fraternity guy. I didn't think, fraternities, just from watching Animal House and things they did, it wasn't something that captivated my mind right away, but he made it sound interesting, and he made it seem like this group of guys that was trying to start this fraternity had things in common that I had, that I liked my interests. So we got a flyer that were being handed out.
Once Raul started messing around with the idea of BDL, which was Brotherhood of Distinguished Latinos, him and 12 other guys got together, and one of the guys happened to be my roommate, Mario Aleman. Back then I was working full-time at nighttime, actually at the Devil at Walmart Distribution Center. But Mario quit that job. He went out in a blaze of glory. He just said, "Screw you, I quit." And so he had time for BDL, and they had meetings almost every night. So he would let us know what was going on, because Rene Rodeo, Mario Aleman, and myself all lived together at Sunset or Sunridge. I can't remember the names. They were top of LBJ, and actually BDL had the first parties there. The pre-ODPhi parties happened with us. And the big kegger that everybody found out about was because of us, because we were alcoholics back then. But we'd hear every night Mario come back and just tell us what was going on, who, these guys, what they were about, guys from Almas, guys from Image, guys from LULAC, guys from HBSA, from Mayas, and they were just telling us all this different stuff. And back then there was a guy by the name of Daniel Pena. He was big time with LULAC. And he was against us because he was just anti-Greek. But we kind of went from, and you got to remember, the guys that formed ODPhi, what would already ultimately become ODPhi, we were about anti-Greek as you could be. We hated Greeks with a passion. So for us to form a fraternity, it was weird, but we were like, man, this will be so cool. And we had a networking system, a way not just to party, but to actually help a brother out, help each other out. For sure, we're going to keep on helping out the community because we're already doing that. We were already tutoring. We were already teaching dance classes. We were going to Hayes High School helping out with at-risk kids there. We didn't even know what at-risk meant, but that's what we were doing. We were being mentors for at-risk kids. And we knew we were going to form a fraternity. We were going to do the same thing. And we were going to get our brothers, our sisters, our cousins, heck, for some of us, our own kids, to go through college. Because like I said, we were all first generation and it sucked. We hated it. We hated not knowing how to deal with the system. We hated the fact that there was only like 2 or 3 professors in the entire campus we could go to for help. Dr. Chang Ying was one of them. And he to this day, he calls us un bola de borrachos. But he loves us. I know he does. He can't lie. But he would help us out. And when we finally got ODPhi together, well, it was BDL. I'm sorry. After the original 13 got together and they invited everybody to go in, and we were all able to go to meetings, including myself, man, we fell in love. We were like in heaven. In fact, I dropped out of AMAS. I didn't even go to AMAS meetings anymore, and I was supposed to be president. That was sad. But, I mean, our hearts and souls went into BDL. And crazy part about it, though, is right as soon as we started, we really felt the backlash in the community. A bunch of dumb Latinos were scrawled on different dorms. You would hear hate mail, you know, go back where you came from, you damn wetback, crap like that. And it was like, what the hell? So we knew right off the bat we were hitting a nerve because we were trying to form a Greek organization, and they didn't like that. We were starting to play by their rules. We finally figured out how to play the game.
My recollection of how ODPhi got started, I remember just, I guess it was 96, whenever we were thinking back, and I remember living in Bear Hall at the time. And I was an RA there, and there was a group of Latinas that started an organization called the Sisterhood of Distinguished Latinas. And we were friends with a lot of them. And Raul went to one of their meetings, and he got some direction from them as far as how they started the organization. And he came back. He lived across the hall from me, so on the opposite wing. So we spent a lot of time talking, and he shared the idea with myself and Juvie. And right away, I took on to it. Like, I mean, I had always wanted to start something like that, because at Southwest Texas at the time, there wasn't a fraternity that was for, I guess, lower, how could you say it, like, most of the fraternities there were really expensive. So, you know, to join one, you had to be kind of wealthy, or you had to have your parents who were paying for it. And I was an RA at the time, trying to pay my own way. So whenever Raul came up with the idea, I thought it was excellent, because it was going to be, you know, something that we can help other people as well. So
I heard about the brotherhood. It was when I was a sophomore living there at Barrett Hall. I heard it from Juvie, just one of the original 13 founding fathers. Really, Juvie didn't convince me too much about it. He came and talked to me. You know, he had seen me drinking at some place or something like that, so he probably thought that I was gonna enjoy it, something like this. But really, it's not the reason I was in college for. You know, I was pretty much sure of what I wanted to do. Had been approached before by other people, and that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to be there to do something positive. You know, do something. Being the first one going to college for my family, I wanted to do something really good. You know, even in my experience in college. So Juvie mentioned to me about a fraternity. There wasn't really much to what he was offering, or what the fraternity was offering at the point in time that he explained it to me. But when I talked to Raul about it, Raul brought different points about it. You know, he pushed the right buttons, I guess. He found out what I was about, and he sought whatever I could offer. You know, he put it a different way. He didn't make it seem like what it was, something that I was joining, something already established, but something that I could help establish, and something that I can help create. And that was what pushed me to get into the BDL experience. And that's pretty much what it was, man. All he had to do was tell me what I could do to help out. and I told them, you know, I like the idea a lot about community service.
My first encounter with BDL took place back in the fall semester of 1997. At that time, I was very much involved in different student organizations on campus, and it was a tight-knit community as far as the Latinos on campus. I mean, everyone knew each other, they knew which organizations they were in, their leadership roles. And when word began to spread across campus about the initiative of developing a Latino Greek organization, it was met with different perspectives of opinion, varied opinions. And I was curious. I was interested in at least finding out, well, who's attending, who's initiating, what's their mission, what's their goal, and attended an interest meeting, which was probably the second or third meeting. And I had some other friends that had already gone to one of the first meetings and had invited me, so I went to a meeting, I think at Smith Hall on the second floor, and was surprised to see so many people in the room.
I think our experience was we heard about it at the same time. I was always trying to remember who it was that actually approached us when we were at the library. We were invited to get into the elevator, and was it Junior? That came up to us and he was just telling us, hey, there's this new organization, you guys should come out, just check it out, see what's going on. He told us information, where we were going to be at, where to meet, what time, and we just kind of went from there and just went to go see what's going on and just meet a whole bunch of people.
BDL, the Brotherhood of Distinguished Latinos. It was a big old bunch of rowdy guys, really proud of who they were, who they represented, and we did things together as a team. The problems we encountered, we faced together. We were one unit. We sponsored several fundraisers that were extremely successful. We had food drives, we had monetary fundraising, and we were recognized in the city newspaper on several occasions, both as a group and as individuals. BDL was highly successful in achieving the goals that they set out in when it was first put together, first inspired. We set out to become a respectable club, and we were that. We wanted to be recognized by the city council and the town that we lived in, and we were that. We were recognized by the university, and when we presented ourselves to Flagstaff, Arizona, and we handed them our accomplishments, even they were impressed with what we had done.
You know, we went out and we did a little bit of research as to what we wanted to do. Start as a Greek fraternity from our original brotherhood, or to actually branch off of somebody else that's already established, you know, with similar goals. And that's what we did. And, you know, I think Raul, David, some of the other guys are doing different things. We are looking around, you know, searching online for somebody that would answer our questions or have similar goals to us, and we ended up finding Omega Delta Phi.
It was a big culture shock because you're so used to being surrounded by like your own people or anything else, and then you go somewhere else where you're the minority, where you're less than 2% of the population. So you kind of look around and you don't see any familiar faces. So when the whole thing came up where they introduced us to BDL and kind of come out and talk to them, it was very comforting, because it's like we said, we had seen a lot of these people around, but we never got to talk to them. So when we got to meet up with all these people, it was like, oh, hey, these people live in our dorm, these people have the same classes that we do. It just kind of made the transition to going to college a little bit easier. It was great. I mean, we had always talked about possibly joining a fraternity later, like down the road, sophomore year, junior year, maybe something different. But there wasn't really anything out there specifically for us or that we felt that we belonged to. So this was a great opportunity, something to look into, and it's kind of a blessing in disguise for us.
All right, BDL. How did this all begin? That's interesting because I have, before BDL, I have one acronym that would be SDL. Back in '96 in the fall, I was in Amas, and so were a lot of other brothers and the Sisterhood of Distinguished Latinas. The founding mothers were in Amas as well. Remember them talking about they're going to start a Greek organization, their first Latina sorority. And I visited some of the founding mothers. I went to the apartment. I remember Cynthia was there, Dora, Anna, Vicky, and a couple of other girls, and they were they were all excited because they were going to discuss this whole new future Latin sorority. And I went over there. I remember seeing Tony Bravo. He was sitting down on the sofa because his girlfriend, one of his girlfriends, was now his wife. Is one of the founding mothers of SDL. First time I met him as well, and I believe Jose Bibiesca was there as well because his girlfriend at the time, Denise, I believe, he was dating her, and she was one of the founding mothers. But anyway, I was talking to some of the girls, and they were saying, they were kind of showing me their plan, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. I can imagine if we could possibly just help. And I was thinking help would be more like providing brothers. So I told the girls, what do you think if, with your help, I'd like to see if we could provide some brothers for your organization, for the girls. And they were excited. They're like, sure, we'll help you, we'll assist you on the process, what we got from the bylaws and so forth from Southwest Texas State University on how to create an organization. And I'm like, great, I'll go ahead and I'll get back with you. And I left and I went back to Bear Hall where I was living at, and I spoke to the two guys that I knew really well. They were my friends, and they were actually both RAs at the time. It was a Juvie, Juventino Mendiola, and Andy Alvarado. So I brought the idea to them. I told them, hey, these girls, they're about to form this organization, and how about us creating some brothers for them, just establish some brothers, get some guys, and do the same thing they're doing. Spent a couple of days brainstorming, and we're thinking, well, we can't do this alone, so let's grab some guys. I grabbed Tony Bravo, who was obviously in that room at the time. I talked to Jose Briviesca at the time. But there was 13 of us, and each individual guys, or each of these brothers, they were unique for a specific reason. They represented other organizations throughout the campus, other Hispanic organizations. I had the president of BESO, the president of HBSA, the president of MIAS, I believe a brother from LULAC, Image, you name it, we grabbed one from each one. And the reason why is it was to acquire the leaders from those organizations who had back then at the time, they didn't even interact with one another. Yet BESO that was too good for HBSA, SBSA was too good for MIAS, and so forth. And then the only ones that was in neutral lane was AMAS, because we were Association of Mexican American Students, so we didn't care who you were, as long as it was a time to socialize. So anyway, it was key to have these individuals from these organizations because this was going to be the establishment of a future Latino Greek organization. And we decided actually for a few weeks to see what we were going to do, how we were going to do it. Went to the school, we went to CASO, we went to Greek Affairs. We asked them, how do we do this? What do we need to do to become Greek? They gave us forms. They told us this is the process. They even asked us, are you going to be Greek right away? Are you going to chapter off? What is your goal? And we had no idea. We were like, well, let's do what SDL is doing. SDL was actually doing Sisterhood of Distinguished Latinas that was going to become Sigma Delta Lambda. At that time, we thought it was going to be a pretty good idea, so we're thinking, let's play it safe and state that we're going to do something like that. BDL would probably be Beta Delta Lambda. So we played it safe, and we created what Southwest Texas State required back then was you had to become an organization before you become anything else further. So we established BDL.
You know, going out to people and telling them what we were trying to do, what we were trying to accomplish. We were going to go out and start, you know, a new organization, and something that, you know, we wanted to get other people, you know, happy about, and we wanted to get them to join. So, you know, I remember, you know, just feeling a great deal of satisfaction and going out and spreading that word and getting other people, you know, interested in us, wanting to find out more and coming to join them, some of the meetings.
The number of people that helped, don't know the exact number, but it was around 30, 35 people. Everybody, you know, did their share of the work. Originally, I believe there were 13 founders before BDO was created. The original guys who decided.
Multiple memories that just stand out. I mean, I remember meeting the bottom floor of the library and just having that whole room full of brothers, and everybody being there, and just that camaraderie that was there at the time when we were all on campus, and to see that panel of brothers at the front, our leadership, and have them all there and sharing a vision and seeing in everybody else's eyes that, yeah, we can do that, and that there was nothing that was gonna hold us back from being able to accomplish our goals, whether that was a community service goal, or whether it was promoting somebody for Homecoming King, or whether it was even just hosting a fundraiser in the quad. I mean, there was just a lot of energy, there was a lot of initiative, there was never anybody that was just sitting in the background. Everybody was involved.
And we went to a meeting that was SDL's. It was at Harris Underground. It was the first time that the girls were going to see their future brothers. It was 13 of us. Matter of fact, there was 12. David Rodriguez was the 13th. He had just finished a meeting from Fellowship Christian Athletes that was right where Harris Underground was, and he joined our group. He went in our line, and he was the 13th guy. But anyway, it was awesome because I can imagine this, having Harris Underground right there with those concrete steps, and every inch was filled with a Latina. It was swarm. It must have been 100, 150 girls of SDL. I mean, it was huge. And I was nervous, so were the guys. Vicky, who was one of the founders and the president at the time, was about to introduce me so that I can introduce our brothers. So she introduces me, I introduced the guys. We expressed some of the visions, some of the goals. We're excited. The girls are going crazy because they see 13 great-looking Latinos, and they're excited because we're probably going to match them with 100 plus, you know. So we leave that meeting. It was a 5-minute introduction. We leave, go to Barrett Hall, and one thing that really stuck out was we went to Barrett Hall. We sat in the lobby, and there was a dry eraser board. And I stood up, I asked for a marker, and one of the guys gave me a marker, and I started writing. President, vice president, secretary, you know, treasurer. And then David Rodriguez, he had stopped me. He goes, "Hey, hold on. Why are you doing this right now?" And you know, I'm like, "Well, I'm putting positions. We're going to be an executive board, and in order for us to be established, we have to already establish the executive board." And he was like, "Well, why don't we just try to get to know each other first?" Because he was stating, "Well, what if I want to be president, or what if he wants to be secretary? How do you know what we want to be?" And we're like, "You're right." You know, we agreed. You know, yeah, let's not establish positions. Let's get to know each other, and then vote later on a later time. So that's what we did. And that's when I found out that we were going to be a close brotherhood, because we didn't argue, we didn't have difference of opinion, we agreed. And sometimes we agreed to disagree. But that was the foundation. That's how we started. The foundation of brothers who agreed to disagree or agreed on whatever common ground we had laid out. And that was a great foundation. Weeks went by. Eventually, we voted, and I became the first president. It was a vote for that as well. So I was like, okay, great. I was just as afraid as all the other 12 guys. I never started anything. I never led anything. The only thing I led was baseball. So, but it was something new. I knew I didn't have myself. I had 12 brothers. I knew that when I stood up and spoke, I spoke with my brothers. And so I wasn't afraid. I said, all right, I'll be president. We got the vice presidents. And we had 2 of everything. So it was 13. In minimal positions, we had 2 vice presidents, 2 secretaries, 2 treasurers, 2 historians. Yeah, it was 2 of everything because I want all of us to share everything and to back each other up, pick up the slack. So that was the foundation, you know, good solid brotherhood from the beginning. So next thing you know, 4 weeks later, 4 to 5 weeks, we were meeting, and that's when we spread the word out. We became a brotherhood with 12, 13 strangers who knew of each other but didn't know each other. We established that brotherhood, and it was the time to spread the word out.
I encountered during the process was the arguments, I guess, and the creation of little cliques here and there. There were hard times amongst us, but once once the smoke cleared, you know, people got along. We got back to what we originally intended this fraternity, what we wanted it to be, which was a strong brotherhood, a good sense of brotherhood amongst us. And once we passed those little hurdles, we got back as one. We settled our differences, even though everybody always has their own opinions and ways of doing things. At the end, everybody came together.
There was many nights where we stayed up doing the portfolio, writing everything up, doing scrapbooks, doing the photo montage, staying up some nights very late till like 3 or 4 in the morning with Nick and Roy, Martin. We're working on the song that I don't know if it still exists. Somebody out there has to have a copy of it, but I mean that was a big part of it. It kind of expressed the emotion of who we were, what defined us, and what we wanted to be. And it was just a lot of effort and a lot of time that most people in our organization, most people in BDL couldn't give, or just weren't able to contribute as much as was necessary sometimes to make life a little easier for the main people that were organizing everything.
I mean, there was a lot that went into just becoming Omega Delta Phi, which is one of the things that, you know, I actually admire about it the most. And they're just not going to give their letters out to, you know, any organization that applies. I mean, there was a process when we had to first, you know, once we were recognized, we actually first had to become a colony, and then we became a chapter, and then, well, that's right. Yeah. And before they would actually, you know, give us our letters and recognize us, but. Yeah. Oh, actually, no, I take that back. We first had to become a club, then a colony, and then we became a chapter, and we were given our letters. And for each one of those stages, they asked quite a bit of us. I mean, not only did they want us to, you know, be on par, you know, they wanted us to have, you know, good people that had, you know, good service, good grades, you know, good representation of their organization, but they also, you know, community service was a big factor. And, you know, I want to say to that last stage when we finally applied for our chapter, we had to have like 1,000 hours of community service right around that point, just to even be considered.
The hardest tribulation. Like I mentioned, you bring up a lot of men to the table that have leadership experience, that are confident, that are articulate, and you're gonna have some type A personalities in the group, and you're gonna clash from time to time. There's those that are really progressive and wanting to move fast, and then there are those that are more analytical and wanting to review things. And so kind of getting through some of those tribulations were a challenge. And it wasn't until Raul kind of set the tone and said we're moving this together as a unit, and it's not going to be a faction. We needed to eliminate the cliques that were developing. Once that was stated, and once we all knew that we were in this together, whether it worked or whether it failed, we were in it together. That really kind of helped smooth things over.
I remember when we were still in the BDL ODPhi club stages, and word got out. The entire campus was they had two opinions. One was, is it even legal to allow Hispanic men to be a Greek? Another opinion was, even if they become Greek, they're at no match to us. That was their mentality. That was the other Greek mentality. I remember when I graduated in '99 and slowly started to talk to some of the brothers that graduated with me. And in 2000, 2001, 2002, I started to slowly express the experiences that came upon while I was still president, and we were part of this organization. And that was the racial activity that was going on. I received a lot of hate mail, a lot of racial mail. Call me Mexican, wetbag. You can't be one of us. And I remember going on campus and walking from the passenger side of my truck, and I noticed my doorknob was gone. And I looked; it was completely gone. It was just broken off. And on my window, it said, "You wetbag gangster." And that was hard, I didn't know what to translate from that. And but I did know that I was not going to tell my brothers, and I wasn't even going to show them the letters I would receive in mail and emails, and because if I had told my brothers, then we would no longer be going forward to the mission. We would become gangs. We would become a gang, because I know my brothers would retaliate, and that would defeat the whole purpose of what we were established. And I didn't want to create or build hatred. I didn't want to roll over the hatred from what I was receiving from these other fraternity or organizations throughout the campus. I wasn't going to have them beat the system in a way that they can do whatever they want and get away with it. And in the long run, they didn't get away with it, because I contained my composure. I didn't express or share this with my brothers, and we continued the ball, rolling the ball of fraternal endeavors, and we overcame, we achieved. The reason why I said they didn't get away with it is because those fraternities were now at a different level than us. We were out there. We became presidents of student government. We became homecoming kings. We decided the fate of our campus, and that was our goal. And we did that as Omega Delta Phi men.
We found out we're going to become ODPhi. We're a club for ODPhi. And National Conventions was in Flagstaff, Arizona. And 3 guys actually had money back then. David Rodriguez, Alex, and Vince. And they were going to fly down there. The rest of us were going to stay, but we knew we had to roll deep. We knew that wasn't the way we were. So I'll go to Dr. Chain, and I hit him up for money. And he already knew who I was, man. He's one of my mentors, and he was like, "What the hell do y'all want now?" So we told him what we're going to do. Between him and a couple other profs that were on campus that were Chicanos, they're like, "Here's a check, $400. I was 21, but you had to be 25 back then to rent a van. So we rent the van, and they said, "Are you going to stay in the state of Texas?" We're like, "Yeah." knowing damn well we're going to Flagstaff, New Mexico. We're lying our asses off, dude. We didn't care. Or Arizona, where the hell Flagstaff's at. But anyways, we take off. And we took off on a Friday. And you gotta remember, Monday was starting finals ready. Or midterm, finals was ready starting Monday. So we take off, dude. And it was an 8-passenger minivan. And we fit 8 fools in that minivan. And I was the skinniest kid in that minivan. Rene, Mario, Big Gabe. I mean, nothing but big guys. And we were just like this. Even David Rodriguez actually rode with us instead of flying up there. I forgot about that. He rode with us. And just saw these guys. And it was at least an 18-hour drive. Nobody fell asleep, because if you fell asleep, you woke up with stuff all over your face. Rene Rodea fell asleep. And right when we were going through El Paso, to the checkpoint, Rene Rodea fell asleep. Mario was driving. And the guy asked us, the immigration asked us, dude, is everybody legal? I said, no, we picked up a hitchhiker a while back, but he's asleep. And back then, since we were all Raza, dude, we all spoke Spanish to each other on a regular basis. And he goes, this guy's illegal? We're like, yeah, he's illegal. We just picked him up. So he kind of pokes him with the stick, you know. He goes, ¿qué chingados quieres, cabrón? ¿Qué chingados quieres? Because he's asleep. And he was like, when he finally woke up, no, vale, verga, cabrón, te voy a matar. And we were laughing our asses off, dude.
There was always somebody there for you. And I mean, it would be unfair to just pick out one person just because of the fact that everybody was there for you. I mean, and most of them are still there for you, that you keep in touch with. And it's just, everybody had an influence in your life in some way or another. I mean, like one little example that I would give that has actually become a big part of my life was there was a couple of times where Ralph, who joined with us, I worked out with him a couple of times, and some reason, I don't know what the conversation led up to, but somehow or another he had convinced me to stop drinking sodas, where I used to drink them a lot, and while it might not seem like a big deal, I still continue to do that today. And that little thing that he did kind of influenced my life in a lot of ways, to where I was able to eventually continue to work out and do everything else. And if you guys remember me, I was much bigger in college, and from that point to just working on everything. I mean, I've gone to the point where I've lost almost 60 to 70 pounds, and that little thing was a big influence. And I mean, there's so many things like that some people did.
You know, the question is obvious. You know, the person that got me into the brotherhood was a person that I looked up to the most, Raul, of course. Raul always put everybody else before himself, you know, and the fraternity before himself, and everything was about the organization, the group, our race, you know, our being Latino, you know, being a leader, being an educated, you know, leader, and a scholar, you know, a distinguished gentleman, you know, whichever way you want to put it, you know, he put everything, all of those things before, you know, his own needs and his own wishes, you know. And I always looked up to that, you know. I can't, you know, think of the other guys, the older guys. Aleman, you know, was the older, wiser guy, you know, and, you know, Jaimito, who was Mr. Social guy, you know. I looked up to him in a way too, you know, because he was, although, you know, he had different intentions than Raul and the other guys did, you know, they were still the older crowd that took us around and showed us around and took care of us in a way, you know. So, but definitely gotta say, you know, Raul, Mario, and Jaime. You know.
The person that stood out the most, and I still have a strong relationship with that person, is Alex Hernandez. Alex was one of those that was balancing multiple priorities, but was so vested in Omega Delta Phi. He was in student government, he was in student foundation, he was involved at some level in almost every student organization, the Latino student organization on campus, plus he would help everyone else. And then you tie in the fact that he was getting his undergraduate degree in psychology. Plus, I want to say he was working like 2 or 3 jobs. He was actively involved in BDL and in Omega Delta Phi. And then he was always at all the parties. I mean, there wasn't a party that you wouldn't go to where Alex was either already at, had already been, or everybody was expecting him to show up. So just his social qualities, his organizational skills, his professionalism, but he was also just a good person.
All 33 brothers stood out when we were. When I say 33, is the entire BDO organization that when we blended into, when we became ODPhi Club and Colony, as we became ODPhi Colony, there were 33 strong brothers, and every one of them stood out, you know, and everyone had a different personality. We had the Coques, we had the Martins, we had the Daniel Guerreros, we had the Vincents, you know, we even had the Juvies and the Andys. Every one, it was like it's like a huge, I'll say a huge Rubik's Cube. We have all these little colors. The moment we became ODPhi Colony, all those colors were no longer different. It was just one complete side. Each side represented a personality from each brother, and we're ODPhi. And so every brother was unique, and they helped the foundation of what we are, what we became, and what we are today.
Surprised me since then and into now really would be Coque. Jorge Guerrero, I mean, we share a last name, but back then, he was so challenged. I mean, again, first generation, uncertain of where he wanted to go, and distracted, just so distracted by just different things on the college campus. I remember trying to help him out and motivate him with his academics. There was a period where he was ready to just drop out and go home and just, you know, not pursue his degree. And I know Raul Sanchez really played a huge part in motivating him. I try to do my part in encouraging him, and each and every one of us really, I mean, there's a bunch of guys that at some point we all told, okay, you can do it. We either told him you can do it, or we gave him a good swift kick and said you need to do it, because that's what we were about. It wasn't just about having the organization and the community service, but it was making sure that we were serving within our group, because we needed to retain our guys, not just in the organization, but on the campus. Like, all of our guys needed to graduate. They needed to go and get jobs. Otherwise, everything that we were doing would have been for nothing. And I mean, you're only as strong as your weakest link, and we needed Coque to not be that person that was ready to quit and leave, but to be our strongest link and to be that leader. And he did that, and been surprised. He's now a doctor. He's got his own clinic in San Antonio for physical therapy, master's degree, and 10 years ago, he was ready to drop out of school. And that's what the brotherhood was about. It was about supporting one another. It was about motivating each other. It was about pushing each other forward, because you knew that guy was going to reach back and pull you along with him. And I think
Dr. Coque, of course, man. You know, I can't believe that. You know, I didn't. You know, I had my doubts about him making it out of undergrad. You know, and I'm very, very happy that I'm actually not happy. I'm very proud of Coque. You know, and I wish that more of us, you know, could have reached the level that he's at. You know, he's a doctor. You know, but the kid had a lot of energy and a lot of I don't know. I guess a lot of potential. You know, energy at the time and point. And luckily, you know, it went the right way. But yeah, he's definitely the most surprising one, Coque.
We have Andy, who's, you know, he was in biology. I mean, first of all, I never thought of a brother that was in biology. You know, a lot. You know, a Hispanic being in biology, that's pure. That's brain, man. That's not coming from some kind of Mexican restaurant. You know, it's you know, it's rare to have brothers who are in the science industry. and that's awesome. You got Koke, who was, who he was a. They were mentors like me, Daniel, Vince, and Ralph, who always tried to mold his brother, and he didn't want to be molded. He was unique, but it was his uniqueness that made him who he is today. He's a doctor. He's fixing bodies. He's a physical therapist. You got a city councilman, Daniel Guerrero. You got Mike Gonzalez, who's the mayor of a cow. You have Angel Ranel, who has his family business of, I believe it's cementing. I mean, if you need cement, call Angel. And we got brothers who are educators, who done well in the education industry. We have a brother who's an attorney, which happens to be James Perez, which is the guy we'd always debate with. I'll always debate with him when we were in an organization, when we were BDL. There's always got to be a debate with him and I, and obviously, I don't know who would win back then, but today he'd probably win. He's an attorney.
Okay. All right, brothers. So I'm really looking forward to meeting you guys. I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to get to know each and every one of you, and hopefully you guys can look back, in 10 years and keep the fraternity going and keep it strong, and continue to inspire those that come behind us.
The men that are sitting to your left, to your right, the person that's sitting in front of you, behind you, you don't know where that individual is going to be 10 years from now. You don't know where that individual is going to be 20 years from now. Heaven forbid, hopefully that person is still in our presence today. We've been fortunate in these 10 years that we've been able to add to the group. In our communities, we're always struggling within the Latino community with the crab in a bucket concept, where whenever you ever have a bunch of crabs in a bucket and one tries to make its way out of the bucket, one of the other crabs will always reach up and pull that one down, and it just destroys our communities. It doesn't allow people to advance. But when you build relationships, you can cling to one another, and that person's always going to lift you up. So whenever you can network, get to know another person, get to know, what makes them them, where their background is, and where they're progressing towards, they're going to take you with them. And even though they don't take you physically with them, you're going to be there in their heart. You're going to be there in their memory. And there might be a time when they're in need of a person, they're in need of support, and they're going to call on you.
It turned me to a different thing where it's like, I don't believe in the saying you're paying for friends. I mean, there's a lot more to it. There's a service side of it. There's a friendship side of it. There's the lifelong relationships that you've built with people that will always be there for you, and you'll always be there for them.
That ODPhi is family, just like your family, you're gonna have moments where you love them, moments when you hate them, and because of that, that those are the times that you remember. Those are the things that keep you together, and it's hard to even think that ODPhi is just an afterthought in anybody's mind.
As a message, just keep it straight, man. Do the right thing. And I know you probably heard this from your dad. You heard them from all your elders the whole time. But hell, I've been out of college now for quite a while, and since I started back 11 years ago when I was there, the only thing that I can offer is do the right thing. Do the right thing. Don't screw anybody over. Do the right thing over and over again, and the right things will come to you.
Brothers today, the active brothers, is no matter what you say to each other, what you think of each other, or what you think you know of each other, do not use prejudgment, and do not treat one another as if you're trying to protect your territory. What I'm trying to say is, continue what we started. Do not become a gang. And what I mean by gang is, do not be territorial. Do not include pride. Do not include your ego. But instead include what we were established. We were established by the unity, honesty, integrity, and leadership. With your Greek letters, and having the community of San Marcos smile, because those letters served them.
When troubles come and my heart burdened be, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. When I am on your shoulders, you raise me up to more than I